Appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. And my job today is do nothing more than seamlessly get us to the next panel of experts to come talk about viewability. So my name is Marcus Startzel. I joined AppNexus just a few months ago as part of an acquisition of my company MediaGlue. And I'm excited to be here today in the Advertisers and Agencies business unit. So just a really quick topic on viewability. Obviously, it's a buzzword in the industry today, and it is talked about an awful lot. Certainly, the folks in this room know that Group M has a very serious position in this issue in the industry. And I think viewability is a very strong word that means different things to different people. I want to throw out a couple more words, like accountability. Who's accountable for viewability at the end of the day? Who's responsible? Whose responsibility is it for viewability? And the last word that I want to throw out is novelty. So not that it's a joke and viewability is going away. I think we all know that that's not the case. But is it something that is really new? I would say viewability isn't new. And this is obviously a joke. I looked at that for more than a second. I saw more than 50% of it, so it's viewable in my mind. We should definitely pay the publisher for that. But if you think about the life of a 728 by 90 that's maybe on the header or somewhere in stream, the mechanism by which we call it viewable is different people. How long it's viewed, how much of the pixels were on, for what period of time. That's not that different if you think about it as the passenger of the car passing a fully unblocked billboard who's asleep, or the driver who's messing around with his navigation, or whatever it might be. Like, those ads are viewable. They had the opportunity to be viewed just as much as the banner below the fold had the opportunity to be viewed if it had been scrolled upon. So I think the difference between old media and new media is the measurability. Because we can measure it, we are and we should. And the question is, what is the right metric by which we should measure? And we've got 100%, we've got 70%, these numbers mean different things to different people. But I think we would all agree that non-viewable impressions, or impressions that were not viewed, cannot influence consumers. And whether you're looking at it from a brand perspective, something that isn't viewed can't influence someone's buying intent. Something that isn't viewed can't drive a conversion. So ultimately, we know that it does have a very tangible and very real tie to the outcome that advertisers see. And because of that, viewable impressions, as we all know, are becoming part of the currency that we talk about every day in this industry. So much so that it made me look back to 2011, which is a lifetime ago, when the IAB, the ANA, and the 4As all pulled together $6 million and decided to what they called making measurement make sense. There is this enormous, as we all know in this room, pool of traditional media dollars that are being spent, whether it's TV or newspaper, magazines, whatever it might be, that many of us in this room likely think are better spent online. And these three groups, one representing the sellers, one representing the buyers, and one representing the agencies, got together to try to make online media more measurable. Now, for those of you who watched the Battle of the Network Stars back in the 70s, and we had ABC, what are those three? ABC, CBS, and NBC battling it out. Like, it's really not that different than when we invented the gross rating point and the target rating point. It's very similar. I certainly wasn't around in the industry then, but we're trying to make things more measurable, because the more measurable, the more money that gets put there. So fast forward to 2015. If you go by IAB, 50% for 1 second, is that viewable? Video, 50% for 2 seconds, is that viewable? We all know the Group M standards are significantly different than this in some cases. But what they came out with, the MRC came out with 7 transaction principles about how we should all deal with viewability. And these experts on the panel are going to be talking an awful lot about how they deal with that on a day-to-day basis. But it does all come back to performance. So a recent ComScore study reported that Kellogg's realized a 75% increase in sales lift by increasing its viewability 40%. So it didn't say by using a 70% viewability metric. It didn't say by using a 100% viewability metric. It said by focusing on viewability and increasing their viewable impressions. So I want to do a little social experiment before we bring the panel up. How many people used a razor like this in the past 2 weeks? Just raise your hands. Just leave them up for a second. Okay. How many of you used a Gillette branded razor like this? So roughly somewhere between 98 and 99% of you, would you say? Okay. So results are measurable. Gillette built their brand. They weren't dealing with viewability. They weren't dealing with some of the things we deal with today. They were dealing with like, which saloon do I put this poster up on, or which railroad car is best or most likely to be seen. But they dealt with what they needed to do to build one of the most successful brands in the medium that was available. And that's what excites me about this panel coming up, is we've got experts that are dealing with the issues in front of us today to try to deliver results for brands.